Tony, we were talking in Martinsville. We were standing in the rain while we were waiting for NASCAR to call it, and I asked you about the Super Bowl. You're a big Colts fan, and you said that the Colts' loss affected you. And I've been wanting to ask you about what was it that affected you so much about that game?
Oh man, I was devastated. I mean, I had never been to a Super Bowl before. So when the Colts made the Super Bowl, some friends of mine from Columbus and I went down and got to watch. And actually, we were in the same suite with Larry here, and I sat right on the window the whole night, and it was one of the best Super Bowl games I've ever seen. But I was just so geared up to watch the Colts win the Super Bowl. You grow up in Indiana, and I remember when I was a kid and the news the night that the Colts left Baltimore to drive to Indy and left in the blizzard. And man, that was such a big deal to the state of Indiana and Indianapolis. And that's just, I've got the pleasure to meet Peyton Manning and hang out with some of the guys at his one of his charity tournaments. And he's just a very stand-up guy and somebody that the state of Indiana is really proud of. And I was just hoping to see him get a Super Bowl ring, but I was devastated. I left there. I was so mad I didn't even want to talk to anybody on the way back to Daytona, and I didn't talk for 2 days to anybody, really. Darian even suffered from that one.
You didn't have to. The track was closed for 2 days.
Yeah, well, Darian talked to me on Tuesday finally, and I still wasn't very happy. So, I'm a pretty diehard Colts fan. I've got a suite at Lucas Oil Stadium there in Indianapolis, and when we get a chance, when we go home, we go to the Colts games.
Might have to hit you up for a game. Tony,
we could do a trackside show from there if you want.
I'm good with that. I got no problems with that. You guys just let me know when you want to come. It's done.
All right, but
Tony, so many people has affected your racing career, but one in particular, and I'm sure you agree, is your dad, Nelson. And to me, one of the coolest things that I've watched since you've been over at Stewart Haas is your dad, Nelson. He is there almost every week, and he is having a blast with it. And then I think also you and him did a pretty cool deal last week.
Yeah, we got to jump with the Golden Knights parachute team, and I honestly didn't think he'd go, but he was as excited about it as I was. And I can honestly say I've never felt safer jumping out of a. They say there's never a perfectly good airplane, but as good an airplane as you could ask for. But I've never felt more comfortable jumping out of an airplane than I was with those guys. Everything you do with the Army, you feel safe with them, obviously. But that was my only regret of doing it was that I didn't do it 10 or 15 years earlier, because it was absolutely.
That was your first time.
That was
right?
the first time I've ever been.
Now, was that your dad's first time?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like a little kid. I swear, he has birthdays, and he gets younger. I have birthdays, and I age in dog years. So, somewhere we've crossed in the age deal.
And now you're taking care of him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. I'm not sure if it's the best thing I ever did or the worst thing I ever did was get him a hard card and let him come to every Cup weekend. So I got to deal with him for 3 days a week now. But every time you look around, he's chasing a different girl through the garage area. It's slightly embarrassing, but we had a blast. I'm scared of heights. I'm scared of a lot of things, believe it or not. But we're hanging there, and we get the canopies open, and they kind of flew by us. And he's over there. He's like, he's waving and smiling. It's like, oh my God, we've created a monster. So now we're both in a competition now to see who can actually get our certification first to do it ourselves. So I figure I haven't crashed hard enough in a race car. Why not do it where I can just fall out of the sky and try?
Yeah, and you jumped on your own. Nobody pushed you.
Well,
No, actually, you get a little help because you got a tandem jumper.
I'm just wondering.
I don't even know how to describe this. I walked with the guy because I was attached to him, but I walked to the door and I put my toes on the edge of the door, and basically you put your arms across your chest like this. I guess that's so when he tries to go out, you can't grab it. I want to go. But I told him, I said, listen, when we get in this plane, I said, it's going to be loud, and I know all this, and I don't care if I fake a heart attack. I don't care what I say. We're doing this. If I say I'm not going, we're going. Just make it happen. So, but once we got to the door and you put your arms across, he just swung us back once, and out the door we went. So it's cool. You can actually see it on YouTube. You go to YouTube and Tony Stewart Golden Knights, and you can watch the jump. It was an experience of a lifetime. It was awesome.
Well, I'll just concur, because last week I took my daughter, did the same thing with the Golden Knights down there in North Carolina. I've jumped before, but jumping with my daughter must be a lot like jumping with your father. It was the greatest thing. It was a great bonding moment. We had a great time. The Golden Knights made you feel very, very safe. So, again, Army
And
strong.
you and I were dealing with the same intellectual level here. My dad. Probably parallel to each other on that. But it is. I mean, I got to thank the U.S. Army and the U.S. Army Golden Knights team. They were absolutely fantastic.
They are the best. But real quick, drivers that have come to the Dream, has anybody showed up there that you kind of like said, I'm worried about this driver, that all of a sudden kind of like surprised you how quickly he took the dirt cars? Because, I mean, not every one of these Sprint Cup drivers has experience on dirt. I mean, not to the degree you go to. And please don't tell me it was Elliott.
That was my first time on dirt.
Elliott did good. Elliott did real good.
I qualified like in the top 15. I thought I'd sat on a pole for the Daytona 500.
I think there were only 17 of us that year.
You didn't have to tell everybody that.
Now, I'll be honest. The guy that really probably surprised me first was Matt Kenseth, because he'd never even been on dirt.
Yeah.
And we ran the year that he came. The heat race, it was wide open and it was rough and it had rained, and we got done with the heat race and I got out, and I'm the guy that's knows the track better than anybody and runs these things, and I was out of breath, and I was like, man, I don't want anybody to see me, and especially him, because it was all I could do to stay with him. And he got out and he was looking at me like this and I'm looking at him like this, and neither one of us wanted to admit that we were falling out of the seat. But Juan Montoya had to be probably a guy that absolutely amazed me, and I knew going into it it was going to be something cool to watch, because he'd never been on at Eldora in a late model, and I had to take him. We actually took Jeff Gordon's car and that he was driving, and I had to drive it down to the back of the pit area and show him how the transmission worked, because he had never been in one.
Yeah.
And he drove us back, and I thought, man, this is going to be interesting. But I knew that it wasn't going to take much time. And on his third lap around there, he looked like he had been in a dirt car for 3 or 4 years. And I think that if you haven't ever watched this race, you got to watch it and watch how these guys adapt to cars they're not used to, on a track they're not used to, and surface that we don't get to run dirt that often. So it's probably one of the coolest things to see these guys just come and have fun and race just to have a good time. But like Elliott said, it's probably the most competitive charity race you'll
It's
ever
amazing.
watch.
See, I didn't test. I didn't know. And see, he don't have a no testing policy. That's my first time there.
Harvick tested 5 times last year, and I think he ran 5th finally. But I mean, he was, you could almost count the amount of times he was going to get in a problem, because Harvick was probably the worst guy we ever had, and he wanted to do good so bad. But Kevin put a lot of effort into it and tested and practiced and got to where when he got there this last year, I mean, he had it down. I mean, he had it going on.